Hello and good evening. I'm John. I'm head of physics here at Isha. This is Q&A session for A-level physics. I've got a couple of volunteers in the room with me who are going to switch their camera on. So guys, if you switch your cameras on, so there's a button up the top. And yes, if you type your messages or questions into the chat, I will answer them or direct them to one of my lovely volunteers. So we've got Peter. Peter, do you want to say hi? Cool. And Sophia.
Hi.
Awesome. Peter, I think you were muted. I didn't hear you coming through my
Yeah.
speakers. Ah, there we go. Wonderful. And also Susan, who is one of our physics teachers, or Sue. So I can't see your camera. Are you on? Wonderful. Right, so if you've got questions, this is just a Q&A session. So if you type your questions into the chat, we will answer them for you. What sort of help would I get coming from combined science? Did either of you do triple science?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you all did triple science. Um, Peter, would you say you need to do triple science to do A-level physics? Do you remember much of what you were taught?
Well, I'm not entirely sure what the combined topic included, but I think it's not essential.
No, so everything that you cover in triple science will be retaught on the A level if it's required. And the material on the A level, obviously a lot higher than the GCSE content. So when you're retaught the stuff that you would have done in triple science, you're really not going to notice it because you're going to be doing so much harder stuff that it will just be, oh, that's quite easy. That makes sense. You know, it doesn't really have any impact at all. So it doesn't matter whether you do combined science or whether you do single sciences, you wouldn't notice the difference really. It's not going to have any impact. Class sizes. Sue, do you want to field class sizes? Oh, have you? Ah, brilliant. Peter, how big are your class? Was your class roughly?
Well, I'm not sure about an exact number, but probably somewhere around 20.
Sophia, do you know how many are in yours?
Like 20, 23 people.
It's actually less than that. Maximums are 20. This year, if I just have a quick look at the class numbers. So we've got, in our first year classes, we've got 16, 11, 15, 15 again, and 17. And in the second year classes, they're a little bit larger, 17, 14, 15, and 16. So maximum of 20, but people tend to drop out at the start. They kind of enroll on some courses. And maybe some start 4 and they think, I'm not sure they want to do medicine or engineering, and once they made a decision they might drop physics to say carry on with just the 3. So yeah, something like that. How many hours of physics lessons are there a week? Sue's replied to that one, so that's 4 1 hour and 5 minute lessons. And can you explain the physics A-level course? I'm assuming you mean in terms of what you actually learn. Sophia, what are you learning at the moment?
We just finished learning materials and mechanics and now we're doing waves. So
Thank you. Just need to add Lulu into the chat as well. There we go. So, so that's the first year up till Christmas, mechanics, materials, and waves. And then after Christmas, you do, so that's all familiar from GCSE. You'll do particle physics, quantum physics, and electricity after Christmas. And then in the start of the second year, Peter, what are you doing?
Currently, we're doing capacitance, and we've also done a bit on astrophysics and orbits and gravity, which is mostly easy if you've played Kerbal Space Program.
Brilliant. Right, I've still got one more guest joining. Lulu, are you in now? Can't see you on my. Oh, there you are. Brilliant. Presenter. So you should be able to switch your camera on now as well. Cool, brilliant. And this is Lulu. So, where have we got to with the questions? Oh, so in the second half of the second year, so you've done a bit of thermal physics and gravitational fields, as Peter said. And the second half after Christmas, we go on to do radioactivity and nuclear, which is again a little bit familiar, but we actually do some hands-on experiments with radioactivity, and then we go on and do astrophysics. We got to examining board. Sue's answered that. That's AQA. How difficult? How hard did you say, Lulu? Do you want to field that one? How hard is A-level physics? I think you're muted. I can hear you, but I can't hear you through my
My bad.
headphones.
I'd say it's. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'd say it's quite a lot harder than A-level physics, than GCSE physics, mostly because instead of just focusing on remembering equations, you focus on understanding a lot more. Like at GCSE physics, you could get away with just using the equations, but you have an equation sheet at A level. It's not about remembering at all. You have to really understand why they work, which they do teach you, obviously, but it is quite a big step up. Yeah, you learn the same things, just at more in depth.
Brilliant. Sophia, do you want to comment on that?
I'd say that the jump between physics, GCSE and A levels is quite a lot, and I'd say it's much harder. And yeah, I agree with Lulu. Like the equation sheet is there, but you need to understand how they actually work and the concept behind it. Yeah.
Brilliant. And Peter, do you want to give your thoughts on that as well?
Well, I wouldn't really say it's difficult. It's just you need to put in the work to understand it. But if you enjoy physics and it's something you're passionate about, then it's not difficult.
I think that's fair. It's more mathematical than you do at GCSE, and there's a lot more reliance on understanding. You know, we take students. Somebody said how hard it is to get into. You need a 6 in maths and a 6 in physics, so that's the minimum level of student that we take. So the ones that are kind of getting 8s and 9s are now being stretched and challenged by some of the A-level content. So it is more challenging, but it's also more rewarding. You delve into stuff in a bit more depth. I hope that answers you. If the answers don't actually answer your questions, just retype something and we'll go back to it. What career paths are open? So anything, I mean, physics is kind of applied maths. It's problem solving. So you're using your maths to solve problems, basically. And you've asked about computer science. That's essentially problem solving as well. Getting a computer to solve problems. Regarding computer science, you don't need computer science A level to do a degree in computer science. You just need maths. So as long as you're doing maths, you're all right there. But physics, maths, computer science, right? Physics and maths are going to open engineering doors. They're going to open physics-related doors, maths-related doors. But you don't have to. You know, we get students who go off and do things like chemistry. They'll go off and do. A lot of students do things like 3D design at college. So they go off and do kind of design subjects, architecture. So they kind of move. Some go off and do maths. So some go the kind of the maths end of it. Some kind of stick at physics, go towards engineering or towards kind of product design where there's a lot less math. So we get a bit of a range. Some do biology, for example. Some just go off and do something completely different, like finance or law or something like that. So it's required for doing things like engineering and maths. Sorry, engineering and physics. My apologies, at university. But anything that involves problem solving, physics is a real asset for. Top. No, you'll be writing everything on paper. So if you want to bring in a laptop, it's quite hard, if I'm being honest, to insert equations into Word. If you've ever tried using the equation editor, it's quite time consuming. So you're probably not going to be able to type much in the way of notes on a laptop, if I'm being honest. Some students bring in and use touchscreen devices, and we do get homework collected in on OneNote. So some students, I've got a student called Sam, and he has his tablet in, and everything is in OneNote. All his notes are in OneNote. He takes our electronic booklets, which we give them, because you get a paper copy. He gets the electronic version and just prints it into OneNote and writes directly onto it. And he has everything electronic. So you can do, but you will need to be able to ink really if you want to keep up with it. I think, none of you use laptops in lessons, do you?
No.
No. Would you agree with my statement that you probably couldn't type? You'd need to write it down somewhere on paper or with a tablet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. How difficult? Right, is it beneficial? How do you support students to catch up? Right. Who wants to go with that one?
I'll
Go on,
go.
I'll go on to it.
Okay, so basically, what you do is that there's a lot of like help that the school provides, especially in physics department. They have the physics clinic that runs 3 times a week, and they help you during lunch times after schools with any equations or questions that you need help with. And then you can also email the teachers directly regarding any other work that you didn't understand in class or you were too scared to ask in class. Yeah.
Lulu, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, they also have they have John's recorded every lesson of all the topics online and put them on the video portal. So if you miss a lesson, you can go back and watch like they're 15 minutes to around 30, 40 minutes, and they're just basically the lesson repeated. So catching up is very easy for A-level physics. It's really, really useful.
Peter, do you want to? Have you got anything to add on that one?
I don't think so.
No. We do provide a lot of support out of lessons, and we do, as you know, as has been said, provide a lot of support via email as well. I think the hardest thing is actually accessing that support. A lot of students, I don't know whether the people in the room would agree with me, but sometimes it can be really hard, and you just want to struggle along yourself, and it can be quite hard, you know, especially in a new place, to say, well, actually, look, I haven't quite got this, and I want to go and talk to somebody and get it explained. And I think students tend to find that the hardest bit. So there is plenty of support out there. All the resources are online as well, electronic. So you get all the booklets, all the PowerPoints, everything is there. You can just access it. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to run a peer mentoring scheme again this year. We had to stop the peer mentoring because of COVID. So we'll introduce that as well. So we'll match up first year and second year students to provide a bit of extra support as well. But predominantly it's, you know, get in contact with us, send us an email, or turn up to the clinics that run 3 times a week and get some help with it. Right. Would you recommend doing A-level maths? Right. Do you have to do A-level maths, do A-level physics? We should clear that one up.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yes.
is the answer with some nods. Yeah, to Aisha, you have to do. Well, do you want to field this one, Sue, or are you typing answers to questions? Do you have to do A-level maths, do A-level physics? Okay. Yeah. I think you're muted. I can't actually. Sue, I think you're muted.
Back on. Okay, right. So yes, maths is absolutely essential if you want to do A-level physics, because maths is the language of physics. And if you want to go on and do physics at a higher level, anything physics related, if you haven't got maths, you're going to find it really, really difficult. With maths, however, you can do any engineering subject under the sun apart from chemical engineering. That would require chemistry as well, but maths and physics opens up the entire engineering world to you. And we have also found that years ago, when we did let students do A-level physics without doing the maths, is that even if they were bright, able students, their fluency in maths decreased over the 2 years and they underachieved. They all got lower grades than they should have done because they just weren't using the maths on a regular basis. So yes, and I would be questioning, if you don't want to do maths, if you don't like maths, you probably won't like A-level physics either, because it does get very mathematical.
It's essentially applied maths, right? You're using. It's kind of somebody's got their. I've got an echo.
It's me, probably. I'll have to put my mute back on again.
Thank you. Right. Oh, I've still got echoes. Don't know who's picking me up. Anyway, so yeah, physics is essentially applied maths, and this is really, really off-putting. Do you mind muting, guys? Muting your mics.
Oh wait, hang on.
Oh, I think Lulu, is it coming out of your speakers rather than your headphones? I don't know whose one it is. Oh, that's better. Right. Okay, sorry. So physics is essentially applied maths, right? You are using GCSE maths in A-level physics. So things like simultaneous equations, rearranging formulas, Pythagoras, quadratic equation is going to come up, all of that kind of sine, cos, tan, etc. And then when you go off to do university physics, you're building on A-level maths. There's a little bit of A-level maths in A-level physics, so there's logarithms and exponentials, which are covered in A-level maths. There's also something called radians as well, which comes into A-level maths. But predominantly it's the fluency, as Sue said. You've got to practice it. But you can't do, without maths, you can't do physics at university, you can't do engineering at university, you can't do computer science at university. Anything that you're going to want to do with physics, any problem solving stuff that you need, you have to have maths for. So for that reason, and the fact that 40% of the content is maths, we do insist here that students do A-level maths. So their problem is that the maths and physics, 3 choices. What other subjects can I do at ESHA as well as physics for engineering? Depends on what you're interested in, right? You might decide you want to do 3D design. That's very popular. You might decide you want to do computer science, because if you are a physicist, if you're going to do a physics or a maths degree, you're going to do some coding. So that works quite well as well. Guys, what do you do?
I do 3D design.
That's a popular one.
I
Lily?
do philosophy as well as maths and physics.
Peter?
I do maths and computer science.
Further maths is an obviously quite a popular choice as well. So maths, further maths, physics and chemistry, maths, further maths, physics and computer science, for example, often come in. Philosophy is an interesting one. Physics and philosophy tie in quite nicely as well. I'm conscious I've got quite a lot more questions I haven't gone through. Are there any physics trips? Yes, we have been in a ballot this year and we haven't actually managed to get places in the ballot, which is a bit frustrating. So we've missed out on our trip to Diamond Light Source and our trip to the lecture day in London because they cancelled it. And we can't go to CERN this year because CERN is closed down. So we're going to do a few other trips instead, particle physics masterclass probably, and trip to local university, possibly a trip to somewhere like Hurstmonster Observatory. We're still trying to figure it out, but yes, we have done fewer of them over COVID, but we do a lot of in-house stuff as well. So there's a book club, there's an astronomy club, there's lots of stuff going on in-house as well, even if it's been quite tricky for us to get out because of COVID. How well equipped is this department? Yeah, equipped, I would say. We've got enough equipment for every student to do practicals individually. Wonderful. Is A-level maths a requirement? Yes. Sue's answered that one. What courses would you, there's nothing you have to do beforehand. I guess Sue, you might want to jump in here. I think it's all about making sure that you really understand the GCSE physics. Would you agree with me? Oh.
I would actually come back to the maths again. I would say that having a really good understanding of your math skills is actually probably more important than understanding the physics. I mean, we recap the GCSE physics when we go into it, but the amount of GCSE physics that we actually is relevant is a very tiny portion of the A-level physics course. So within the first maybe 10 minutes of a lesson, you've covered what you needed would have got from GCSE anyway. So I would say having a scientific background would be helpful. So double or triple, it doesn't really matter, I don't think. But I think that the difference is your maths ability as to how successful you're going to be, because it's a problem solving exercise. It's not just rote learning anymore. So you can learn what you need to learn and you can work out the rest from first principles if you've got the math skills to do that.
I think a lot of these we've tackled already, haven't we? How many in a class? So we've got somewhere probably between 12 and say 17, but it could go up to a maximum of 20, which Sue's answered. We've talked about maths being compulsory. Physics isn't necessary for medicine. Minimum 6 in maths and 6 in physics. And Sue's replied to that. Would doing further maths be too much? No. So talk to the maths department about further maths, but a lot of students, I mean, if you do further maths, you have to do 4. You can't do maths, further maths, physics. You'd have to do maths, further maths, and 2 other A levels. So that might be physics and chemistry, physics, computer science, physics, economics, something along those lines. What grades do students generally achieve? That's a really good question. Last year we got no U's, no E's, a couple of D's, about 50% A's. It was something like that. 70 something percent A star to B, 15% A stars. So best ever results last year. And somewhere between there's this thing called value added, which tells you how many grades better or worse you do than average. So if you look at all the students across the entire country that do better, we do somewhere between 30% of a grade and 50% of a grade better than the country on average, putting us somewhere in the top, maybe 10 to 20% of providers, depending on which year it is and what students we get through the door and so on. But of course, that also includes private schools and self-selecting schools as well. Right, there's Sue's response. What grades do students typically achieve? We've done that one. Do you need physics for computer science? You don't need physics for computer science, but there's a lot of overlap, especially if you want to code up computer games, being able to program. Peter, I think you'd say if you want to code up a computer game, physics is helpful.
Yeah.
I'm just doing a bit of a rush now, sorry, because we've only got about 3 more minutes. I'm trying to get through all of the questions. Do you recommend an essay-based subject to complement the double maths physics combo? Not necessarily. If you want to go and do physics, do the stuff that's going to be useful for you, I think. Would you agree? I know you're not quite there, but what do you, because you do philosophy.
Yeah, I'd say that physics and maths are the only things you really need to make sure you do well in physics. But another essay subject is just if you enjoy it, then do it, because you don't want to do something you're not going to enjoy.
Peter, do you miss having an essay subject?
Not really. I did enjoy history at GCSE, but I can learn it in my own time.
It's do what you enjoy. Do what you enjoy. That's the main piece of advice, I think, and make sure that you do enough to open doors. If you're thinking, look, I might want to do something like law, you're going to need an essay subject in the mix, I think. What the class size? We've tackled that one already. Somewhere between 12 and 17, usually max 20. A-level physics good if you're doing combined science. It doesn't matter whether you're doing combined or triple science. There's no slides today. It's just a question and answer session. Why did Peter, Lulu, and Sophia choose Isha? That is a really good question. Lulu, do you want to go first?
I chose Isha because I liked the way it was structured. I like how it's not the same as a sixth form. It's more, they give you a lot more, the teachers give you a lot more freedom in how you like work. You don't get detentions, for example. You have a lot more individual like focus on how you learn. So they place more responsibility on you to do homework. They give you a lot more responsibility, and there's a lot more freedom to do your own like external work. And I like how it's not structured like a school. It's more like a step from secondary school to university, in my opinion, and that's why I liked it.
Oh, okay. So the reason that I chose Isha was because that it provided, like when I went to the open evening, I was talking to a lot of teachers, and it seemed that the facilities at the school are really good. And also, I agree with Lulu. There's a lot of responsibility given to you and a lot of freedom at the same time. And I feel like that helps you prepare yourself for like in the work life after you finish a sixth form. Yeah.
Finally, Peter, do you want to finish off?
I think I also agree with Lulu. The college structure is very beneficial, and I think will make the change from college to university a lot easier. And there's also a lot of freedom that comes with it. So oftentimes my friends and I will go to the park during free periods, and that's always very cool.
Right. Well, I think that is us up to time now because I've now got to move over and chair the computer science one. But I hope that's been very helpful. And if you've got any further questions we haven't been able to answer, if you drop the college an email, my email's on the website as the head of physics. So you can drop me an email. It's jp. I'll stick it in the chat actually. jpoole@isha.ac.uk. So feel free to email if you've got any further questions and have a very lovely evening.